finance and that. What are you seeing? What is happening in your world, and in terms of confidence in the Western Cape from a semigration perspective?
So Neil, we know there's a lot of anecdotal evidence because everyone talks about semigration. Everyone has someone on their street who might have moved on from Gauteng. But I think the easiest way to display this is through a couple of basic metrics. And I think that the only way that I can illustrate from our perspective what's happening in the market is to do that. So if I'm going to tackle three components, one being sales on the development side on the various projects, one being the leads that are generated by for those sales, and then I'm going to go into the investment side as well. So it might give an indication of trend. I mean, this is it's not a sample size that Betterbond might have, but it is indicative of trends. So from a sales point of view, let's go back 5 years. So in that period, 2019 to 2022, across the various projects, people buying who lived in the Western Cape and buying in our projects was nudging 80%. So it was just over 79%. And from other areas was 21%. Fast forward to 2023-24, there's been around about a 10% swing in another direction. So we've now got Western Cape is now just over 70%, and the other areas are nudging 30%. So there's definitely a trend towards people from other parts of the country looking to either invest here or owner-occupy here. And I must say that quite a lot of them are investing in properties here and still living in KZN or Gauteng. Then an interesting stat, which actually surprised me somewhat, was the leads that we've had this year across the projects coming in for the sales side. And 42% of the leads are from from outside the Western Cape. And that's quite a huge upswing from prior years. So there's definitely appetite, whether they can afford to or not, as Brad alluded to. You know, it's a bit prohibitive in terms of the cost to a lot of people, but there's certainly an appetite there that seems to be growing. So just on those leads, 58% from the Western Cape, 42% now from other areas of the country, predominantly Gauteng, I might add. Then if we move on to the investment side, so if we look at, and this is on the funding of projects, and we look at private investors who are coming into these projects, if we look back at a 10-year time frame, the first 5 years of that time frame, investors from the Western Cape made up 73% of the investments, whereas the Gauteng and other areas of the country, 27%. The second 5 years, so the last 5 years, in other words, it's changed. Western Cape's now 49%, and it's been superseded by other parts of the country that are now 51%. Now, obviously, a lot of it's nuanced. It's not a simple case of semigration, but the point being is there's a growing desire for people either to move to the Cape or invest in the Cape, where they deem it to be probably a safer economy.
Okay, great. I think a nice way to set the scene there, Nick. And, you know, Jonathan...